Now it says it's live. What's up, Nick?
Nick and Nick and Rob Homer Hour is live as intended right now, today, as we speak, Rob.
Yes, it certainly is. I am looking at it right now. We are live on YouTube as we speak.
Yes, as the game plan was, this is exactly what we wanted to do.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
But
do you want to just
go
roll
ahead,
with this
Rob.
live and then we
Oh, we're here, buddy.
and
Let's
then you
do it. So we're talking
and then you just
about
repost the
the
recording?
upcoming. Yeah, we're talking about the upcoming conference titles games that are coming up. Of course, we're going to get all over Rob's Patriots as they are in a very exciting game starting at 2 o'clock. That's Central Time, 3 o'clock for you Eastern folk, which a lot of Eastern folk are going to be involved in watching this game. And then we get the following game in the afternoon. I assume around 5:30. I didn't get the time, Rob.
It
Somewhere around.
is going to be at 5:30, correct. So CBS leads off, and then Fox gets what's probably going to be the game of the playoffs if all things hold up. Seahawks Rams, because I mean we're gonna get to Seahawks Rams, but it's just absolutely crazy. The first game the first game the Rams won by 2 points. The second game the Seahawks won in overtime by 1 point. So it's gonna be a good game.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very exciting game. I cannot wait to watch that one. And a lot of people are poo pooing your game specifically, Rob, simply because the Denver Broncos are going to have to stick out Stidham, especially due to Bo Nix's ankle injury. The surprising news that hit us Sunday last week, but Stidham's going to get a full week of practice. Sean Payton is going to try to get a game plan together to stop this New England offense. A lot of people are projecting that this is not going to be that exciting of a game. A lot of people are picking the New England Patriots to win it by a lot. Now, Vegas doesn't seem to be favoring you by super much. It looks like it's going to be
No,
a
they
five and a
shouldn't.
half point favorite for the New England Patriots. Rob, I know you've been saying it all week long, all week long. How do you feel going into this game? Because you seem like you have some Homer nervousness where I, as an objective guy, am trying to look at it and kind of going with the rest of the crowd, saying New England should be able to get this win.
So when you look at the NFL in general and the amount of times, especially in the playoffs, where everyone says, "Oh, it's definitely going to be this outcome that because of X reason, Y is going to happen." How rarely does that actually happen? Look all the way back to the 2001 season, Patriots Rams, Kurt Warner versus, at the time, game manager, an unproven Tom Brady, who had to be pulled 2 weeks prior to let Drew Bledsoe orchestrate the victory because Brady couldn't handle it against the Steelers. And it was literally, I remember reading in Sports Illustrated because that was a thing back then still, hard copy of Sports Illustrated in 2001. The article literally said, "Will anyone still be watching by halftime?" And we all know how that went down. The Pats led for pretty much the entire game in a low scoring affair. And then Tom Brady authored his first of many signature drives. Vinatieri kicked what's, in my mind, his second best ever kick. The snow game kick still is better, but this one was to win the title. And then we got to watch the seconds. Like there was like it's crazy. It was a different world back then. But when you watch the kick go through the uprights on those old highlights, there's still 4 seconds, and it just counts down to 0, and they're just like, "Yeah, we're good, game over."
Yeah.
And so we saw that happen there. All right, we saw. Let's see, in this playoffs. Oh, the Rams are going to destroy the Panthers. Rams nearly lost it there. All right, so when all of ESPN last week, Texans are going to stomp the Patriots in the cold weather in Foxborough. And let's be honest, they should have, based on what happened with Will Campbell and Drake May. They should have done that. But CJ Stroud had the weather issues that much worse than Drake May did. So I don't think there is that big of a drop off from Bo Nix to Jared Stidham. That's not me hating on Bo Nix. That's me looking at what Denver has asked Bo Nix to do all season because of how ferocious that defense is. Jarrett Stidham can come out in Denver at home, and he can play safe enough to not lose the game. He might only be asked to throw the ball 15 times if they can stay in the lead and Will Campbell doesn't wake up from his playoff failures of the last few weeks. So, and the Pats defense all season up until the playoffs has struggled against the run. So this is not a good matchup for New England whatsoever. That being said, New England should win this game. They're favored for a reason. They are the better team with Jared Stidham in. But one of Sean Payton's first signings when he came on board in Denver, one of his first signings was Jared Stidham. He likes what he can do. He knows what he can do, and he can orchestrate it. And Stidham had a chance to come back to New England in this offseason, and he chose to stay in Denver. The Pats tried to bring him in. Instead, we have Josh Dobbs and Tommy Cutlets, which is fine. Now, where it could turn into that blowout you're expecting, I've talked about it all season, especially when the Jalen Hurts argument comes up. The NFL has a quarterback development problem. Sean Payton has come out and said the only real snaps in practice until this last week that Stidham has gotten is as the scout quarterback. So that's not running. So that's going up against his defense, which helps, but that's not running his offense. That's running the projected team they're playing's offense. And on top of that, he hasn't taken a hit since, I would imagine, the preseason. And he must have been hit in one of those games. And we see this a lot. Usually we see it more when a backup quarterback comes in mid game, but we also see it a lot early in a game. The first time the backup quarterback takes over when he has to start, he gets hit hard, he gets hurt. And then the third stringer's in. And I love Sam Ehlinger. Lifetime Longhorn Sam Ehlinger. I love him. The Pats defense will eat him alive if he has to play significant snaps in Denver on Sunday. So I think the Pats should win, but just like I've said the last 2 weeks, one play at a time. And it would not shock me if Denver pulls off the upset.
Gotcha. And I've got I'm first going to just point out why I think this is going to be a blowout for you, Rob. And I'm just saying it as an objective guy that can.
And I
have
want you
no
to be
feelings
correct.
toward this. Yes, of course. But my biggest thing with this is they already just played against two ginormous defense. That is the LA Chargers and the Houston Texans. I think this offense is getting used to going against very, very good defense. The only concerning part about this specific defense compared to the Houston Texans, overall, the Houston Texans are just a better defense. They're better at stopping the run. They have a better secondary. But so far this year, there has not been a pass rush like the Denver Broncos. Even the Texans could not equate as many of the sacks that the Denver Broncos were able to get all season long. And one big concern of you guys is going to be that offensive line who's been struggling at least the last two games against really good defensive fronts. So I get your nervousness over there, but I just don't believe in the Denver secondary. And I feel like Drake May should be able to pick this team apart. It's a really good defense, but it's not better than the Houston Texans. And Drake May should be a little bit more comfortable at picking this team apart and actually succeeding with it. On the defensive side against Stidham, I believe that when it comes to dialing up certain packages and trying to game scheme around players, I think Vrabel does it better. I know he's not the official defensive coordinator, but he does it better than any coach in the league. He's really good at reading the defense and actually stopping people from doing what they're good at, very similar to Bill Belichick in that aspect. And I just don't see how this offense can be able to move against this vaunted New England defense. They're not going against CJ Stroud, who's not having a good season. But even then, I think he's more exciting than Stidham or Justin Herbert, who all the criticisms that I had against Justin Herbert, he's much better than Stidham. And they were able to contain a guy like Herbert and CJ Stroud. I don't see this being this should be much easier to control Stidham. My number one concern of how I think the Denver Broncos can win this game is two things. Sean Payton has a really good record with backup quarterbacks. In his career, when he has to start a backup quarterback, he has finished 12-8, a winning record with backup quarterbacks. So he is really good at dialing up some weird offenses. And I said this in the podcast, I'm going to say it again. Get ready for some weird stuff. You're going to see a hook and ladder. You're going to see an end around. You're going to see some zone read. You're going to see a lot of play action, and you're going to see a flea flicker. All five of them. You're going to see him at some point in the game because he's going to try to dial up anything he could possibly get to get any points on the board. And I expect that out there. And it's not like they don't have unskilled, non-skilled players out there with Cortland Sutton and Harvey out there on the running backs position. So it should be maybe a good game. I can see how it could possibly be a good game, but I just trust that Vrabel's going to get that defense really disciplined and that the offense for the New England Patriots should be able to move much better with the Denver Broncos than they did against the Chargers or the Texans.
I certainly hope you're right, but it's this, we're going up against our third straight top five defense, and I've been giving Will Campbell excuses the last few weeks, and now he's up against Nick Bonito. And Nick Bonito in the regular season this year had 14 sacks. He can come flying at the quarterback. So it's not like, he's not going up against Anderson this week. It should be better. 14 sacks, and that's almost won a game. All right. And then last week against Buffalo, he had 2 forced fumbles and a sack. Drake May had how many fumbles last week? I believe it was 4. And they didn't recover 2. Because Drake May, I kept yelling about it on the live stream. I kept yelling about it. He would not step up in the pocket. He was so trusting of Will Campbell for some reason. I'm going to use that as my reason. He was trusting, not that he was oblivious, not that his timing was off. He just trusted his boy. And that led to a lot of issues, especially with a slippery football in the weather. Drake May's got to have, I'm sure McDaniels has been working on it with him. He's got to have a faster clock in his head. He's got to step up quicker. But Drake May has a key weapon back this week. Mac Hollins has been activated. Mac Hollins will be playing. All right. So now we've got Stephon Diggs still. We've got Kayshon Boutte. The Booty Boys can still be out and excited. One-handed snags everywhere for touchdowns. But then on top of that, we now have Mac Hollins. So if you're telling me someone like Hollins or Booty can be like running that like mesh under route, that mesh screen always as like a safety valve, plus you got Henderson, plus you've got Stevenson. At some point, I think our numbers can and our offensive prowess, if Drake May can start with his head on his shoulders and not need corrections at halftime, if Will Campbell can do 50% better than last week, the Pats should win this one, but it's still going to be one play at a time. And I would not be shocked at all if the final score, the differentials between 1 and 6 points. But hopefully we do our jobs one play at a time. And then we get 2 weeks of prep for what's going to be a ferocious matchup in the Super Bowl where the Patriots will not be. Whoever wins tomorrow, New England or Denver will not be favored going into the Super Bowl. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't. They're not going to be favorites, but it's not like New England can't beat those teams, and I think they have a good opportunity of winning the Super Bowl this year. I know. We're thinking the favoring.
Hang on.
Favoring the.
There we go. We got you back.
I'm back, but they're gonna. Yeah, they're gonna be favoring the NFC teams no matter what. I just imagine that they're going to get the point spread on it just because those have really good offenses compared to New England, who's been a little inconsistent on offense, but wired with a really good quarterback for sure. And all four teams have legitimate defenses too. And that's one thing we're learning about this year is you got to have a defense to make it in this league right now. And obviously, the Cowboys are making some adjustments to that, but we'll see how that goes. But so I guess that leads us into the NFC. Unless you got more Pat stuff, Rob.
No, I think the big thing. I think we've covered most of it. It's they got to tighten up on those penalties, which we haven't talked about that. But they got to tighten up on the penalties. Will Campbell and Drake May, their cohesion and Drake May's timer, and then will McDaniels draw up enough options where Benito is not able just to live in the backfield because there's too much going on? But I guess before we switch over, though, we should probably get our. Do we want to do both and then do picks at the end? Or do you want to do picks now?
Yeah, we could do both, and then we'll do the picks at the end. I think that'd be exciting.
Okay. So picks coming up in our third segment. But yes. Now, let's talk about that nightcap.
Yeah, nightcap. We're talking about the LA Rams going over to the Seattle Seahawks, who this is the game that everyone wants. I think right now Seattle Seahawks are favored. Last time I checked was 1.5 favored, which is essentially a flip 'em game because if you have a home field advantage, you're usually awarded 3 points. As the favorite, and that's what the Seattle Seahawks they lost a couple actually, so they're only favored 1.5, and that tells me it's a pick'em game. And the LA Rams are going into this Seattle environment, which ironically is probably the warmest place in the nation right now because they're going to have a balmy 36 degrees, which is going to be 10 times better than what the LA Rams had to deal with in Chicago. And boy, could you imagine if they played in Chicago this week? It only got colder for them on Sunday. It would have been crazy, but so Rob, how are you feeling in this game? I think weather-wise, I don't think there's going to be much of an effect on the Rams at 36 degrees. I believe it's going to be dry. Last time I checked, who knows with the weather modules? But do you think the Rams are going to stack up much better against the Seattle Seahawks than they did against the Chicago Bears?
I mean, well, technically they don't. Well, technically they shouldn't stack up better, but they're a division opponent with a 1 point differential through two games plus a quarter so far this year. So they match up well against each other. For me, uh, it's gonna all it's all about Sam Darnold and where he stands with his oblique injury. Because an oblique injury for a quarterback it's huge. And let's be honest, last week they didn't have to worry about him at all. They had the depleted 49ers coming after him, but they couldn't really get him. And they had a huge lead. That's not going to happen this week. The Rams are going to get to Darnold. They're going to hit him. They're going to hit him hard. Is he going to be able to get through his throws? Is he going to be able to put the right touch on it, the right speed on the ball? That's what's going to matter, because if his timing ends up off, if he's in pain when he's releasing it, that Rams secondary and those linebackers are going to be able to pick the ball off, or at least tip it for a jump ball or knock it down. And then that could change everything. And what should be a slugfest will quickly, I think, get out of control, because Matt Stafford has found the fountain of youth for at least one season at age 38 with a back where everyone said he's not even going to make it through the season. He's now a presumptive MVP. Puka Nakua has been absolutely balling out. So, short of somehow his brother causing a distraction that distracts him, I expect him to continue to ball out. And that's a UFL insider thing there, guys. So UFL coming in a few weeks. Start brushing up on your UFL news. I I think the Rams are gonna get this one.
I think that's a pretty solid pick, especially as the games played out in the regular season. Although the Rams do have I think they've got the 1 point differential. Am I correct? They're the ones with the
Yeah,
1 point.
Rams +1.
Yeah, in the game that they actually won, that they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, I said this in the podcast, and I'll reiterate. Uh, it wasn't like Seattle belonged in that game. It was in the fourth quarter. I believe they were down by something like 20 points. I forgot the exact details of it, but it was a fluky punt return that got them back into the game. And if it wasn't for that punt return, they never would have ended up, Seattle would have never ended up winning that game. I think the Rams are matched up perfectly against Seattle because they've got enough weapons out there that can make you pay. It doesn't matter how good of a defense. Or one of the few offenses in the league that I just don't see anyone really stopping. And they happen to be at this point against the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're just going to be able to move the ball on them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout at all because Seattle's defense is legit and their offense is, though it is top 10, it's not the doesn't seem to be scoring nearly as much as the Rams do. They do a lot of good things to help protect their quarterback, like play action, motion, and things like that. That just gives the quarterback a little bit more time to operate in the pocket. And I think they'll be able to take on the pass rush of the Rams. So they're going to stay right in this game. It's not going to be a blowout, but give me the Rams. Give me the Rams all day. It's just they're so evenly matched in so many areas, except one. One has a clear, much better offense, and that favor goes over to the Rams. So give me the Rams to actually win that one, and it's going to be close. It's going to be close, yeah. But it's going to be a very entertaining game, and I cannot wait to watch it.
Yeah, it should be close. But like I said, if they can get to Sam Darnold early, that could change it. The Rams defense is tough. Stafford's tough. It's just, I mean, this is what it should be with the way the NFC has played all season. If we did not have two of the three NFC West teams in the conference finals, it would have felt wrong. Like we got cheated out of it somehow. It's playing out the way it should. And for Niners fans, this is especially painful because whoever wins this gets to play in your stadium in 2 weeks. And they get to play there for a second time this year. And there's a real chance that one of your division rivals is going to be celebrating with the Lombardi Trophy at midfield in your stadium. That's rough.
Yeah, for sure. My battery was going out
Oh
on the
yeah, yeah.
laptop.
Gotta
Sorry, Rob.
keep it going.
But we're all good. Oh, looks, hey, yo, we got custom cut ups, by the way. I guess this is a good time to jump in on comments, which is, of course,
Yeah,
Reed. Reed, how's it going? Good to see y'all. Reed, we are doing really fine. We're just getting ready for some good playoff football. And then Chris Evans, I have no clue what he ever posts. I'm pretty sure he's a bot. I'm sorry, Chris. But he posts on
if you're
all of
not
our
a
shows
bot,
and
blink 3 times.
yeah, Chris Evans has to prove it to me
Yeah.
because his posts. Let's go ahead and read it. What does it say? It says Chris Evans and go on Monday and Friday is the day you is good and you new and right. So, any comment on that, Rob?
Chris Evans, I hope you've liked. I hope you subscribed. Thanks for being here, but unless you actually talk about real football, we assume you're a bot.
Yeah. But we know Reed's not, and we appreciate you jumping on the show, Reed. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But yeah, so I I guess I did kind of want to talk about some of the news because the coaching carousel is starting to happen. I think we'll go back into picks here in a sec. Did you see that Mike McCarthy ended up getting hired for the Pittsburgh Steelers? More than
Yeah,
likely.
I did. My favorite part is the tweet that Schefter used to break the news. He didn't actually at all in that tweet say that he got hired by the Steelers. So, I think Nick's having some problems. I'm not sure if we're still alive, but I'm going to keep talking just in case we are. But yeah, so that was the funny thing for me. Schefter's original tweet, it talked about how much he loved Pittsburgh, and it showed him in Pittsburgh Steelers gear, but didn't say the Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy, which I thought was hilarious. Of course, they did, which is great. And ultimately, I like the hire. I know traditionally the Steelers go out and they get someone that's young that can be there for a long time. I don't think McCarthy is going to be in Pittsburgh longer than 5 years. But right now, Pittsburgh's in a big time transition, and McCarthy is a great person to drive that for sure. So I'm pulling up Adam Schefter's account. Let's see. Let's find it. Oh, we lost Nick, but I'm going to keep talking because we might still be on based on what I've seen before. All right, so it says, yeah, that first one, Mike McCarthy is from Pittsburgh. Always, he updated it. He made sure to fix it, so that's good. But I think that's smart. One, I think honestly, Rodgers was playing good enough. I don't see what you still need to go out and get a younger quarterback, but I do not see at all why you wouldn't bring back Aaron Rodgers for one final year. Whether he chooses that to be his last year or not, you just say, hey, Aaron, this is it in Pittsburgh. Let's make a run, but we also need you to help coach up, develop, take under your wing whoever we're bringing in so that they can seamlessly step up and take over after you've led us on a playoff run next year. That's if I'm Mike McCarthy, if I'm the Steelers, that's what I do. I keep Aaron for one more year and then make it clear that Aaron knows you're going to go out and you're going to draft a quarterback. If someone like Ty Simpson falls to where you need him to be, you're going to take him, or you're going to go ahead and sign someone that's, young with some upside. I would imagine either Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel is going to be available. I would bring whoever's free. I would bring one of them in and then still add another quarterback, and then open that up for sure. And there's a chance someone like DK Metcalf he should have been solid under Tomlin, but you got to think maybe now under McCarthy too. DK Metcalf can get right and things will be good. So, and if not, you can ship them out and maybe DK Metcalf is part of a package that lets you trade up to get the quarterback you want in the draft. So yeah, overall, Nick, I'm just saying I think it's a brilliant hire. It's a good way to keep Rodgers around for one more year, as long as Rodgers knows it's his last year and he's going to be mentoring whoever else they bring in.
So is it official that they're going to be bringing Rodgers back?
No. Rodgers is he learned from Brett Favre. He's going to hem and haw as long as he can to get all the attention that he can. about making his decision. But they should offer him a reasonable 1-year deal, and then either draft or bring in. Obviously, I think you got to draft a quarterback. And I also said that either Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel is probably going to hit the streets from Cleveland. If one of them does, you should snag them up, plus still draft somebody. And then you got someone in McCarthy that can develop the right person. So that's good. You're also going to see a new offensive coordinator coming in. That's not surprising. I just saw Arthur Smith is heading out. He is now, which I think is a good thing. People love Arthur Smith. I never thought he was all that good, but Arthur Smith is going back to school. Apparently, he feels he has more to learn. And he's now the next offensive coordinator at Ohio State, according to Schefter, about 20 minutes ago. For those of you tuning in live, cool. But most of you are going to see this tomorrow on Sunday. We're recording on Saturday for a few reasons here in Texas. One of them is either Nick or I, one or both of us, might not have power tomorrow, depending on what happens with this ice storm. And then that's going to be real hard for us to get a broadcast out. That's the main reason. And two, even if the weather is good, the roads are good, I should be traveling for work and getting in where I need to be in time to celebrate the Patriots and watch them. So that's why we're recording today on a Saturday. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on McCarthy?
I'm doing the pot.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, meatloaf. Yeah. So yes, I am. I actually am a big fan of this hire. I think it's going to be a really good hire for sure. I don't get the upsetness of McCarthy. I don't understand why the NFL doesn't like him, and I don't know who likes Arthur Smith. And I'm not saying as the guy, but I am saying as I'm saying as the coach. He is by far one of my least favorite offensive coordinators in the NFL. He is one of the worst out there. I just think he is stuck in archaic times. And one of the worst examples of Arthur Smith is the fact that he turned Kyle Pitts, who's clearly essentially a wide receiver, and tried to turn him into a blocking tight end. One of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life. I've never been a fan of him at all. And good luck to Ohio State. I hope he works out for you, but I just don't. I don't see much there. And I knew if they're hiring McCarthy, they're going to definitely oust him. McCarthy himself is actually a really, really good guy at grooming young quarterbacks. So even if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, I think you're going to be okay. They're going to have to find a way to go get a quarterback. They're not in a good draft position. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers accept the fact that they're actually in a rebuilding moment and not in a try to stay 8-9, 9-8 kind of situation, they're going to be better off with McCarthy getting that young, talented quarterback, groom him, and he'll turn him into a phenomenal quarterback. He is responsible for Aaron Rodgers. He is responsible for revitalizing Brett Favre late in his career. And he also helped out with Joe Montana over in Kansas City. And Dak Prescott, when he was playing with when he was the coach of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott looked terrible under Kellen Moore's system because he looked a little too rattled and confused out there. It wasn't until Mike McCarthy retrained him as a quarterback to teach him, he calls it the 2.3 method, where you do 1 look, 2 look, and then make a play, whatever that play is. But you got to go through your first 2 reads first. And Dak Prescott had an MVP caliber season that year. So I think it's a good setup for Pittsburgh. I wouldn't doubt this at all. You just need to find yourself a good defensive coordinator, pair with it. And on the offensive side, he is a little archaic. He's all old school with not running motion and things like that. But I do think he has the capabilities of grooming young quarterbacks, and I think he's going to be a great opportunity for Pittsburgh to find themselves a young quarterback and get him groomed.
Yeah, and I think especially with how the division is shaping up, putting McCarthy in Pittsburgh at the moment, I would say is the division favorites, because we need to see what's going to happen in Baltimore with the coaching search, with how they play out. They're probably going with a first-year head coach, right? I don't trust Cincinnati as far as I could throw that whole city, and I can't throw it very far because the city's pretty heavy, and I'm just one person. and then Cleveland's Cleveland, right? So, but one thing I was saying was, if you're not in a good spot to really get someone in the draft, but maybe a Ty Simpson falls to you, and if he does, someone like McCarthy could develop him. He doesn't have a lot of starts. That's the risk. Or you could look at, Dante Moore not being in this draft kind of throws everything for a loop, because honestly, probably there'll be more than one quarterback taken in the first round. But at the moment, there's one first round quarterback in my mind, and that's Frankie Mendoza at 1. I don't really see another quarterback that's worth that first round pick right now. And even Frankie Mendoza, I'd say he's a first round pick, but he probably shouldn't be a 1-1. But you could look at, depending on how the draft unfolds, if there's a quarterback you really like that's available at 10 or 12, you're like, you know what, we are starting fresh. You could pair a DK Metcalf with something and move up.
Good.
Or and this is out there, I want to see how you react. Bringing McCarthy in doesn't scream rebuild to me. It really doesn't. So I don't think this would happen in a million years. But if you're Mike McCarthy, and I'm assuming Mike McCarthy has spent his whole year in his man cave watching film, because that's what he did before he came to Dallas. So I'm assuming he's been back in there. He's been back in his lab. I'm somewhat joking, but I'm assuming McCarthy, that's part of why McCarthy got hired, is he's like, hey, I've been looking at things. If McCarthy goes, Mendoza's the one. If you're Tom Brady and the Raiders, and they say, hey, you want J.J. Watt to go with Max Crosby plus some pick swaps? Ooh. Like, we'll give you our second and third rounder and J.J. Watt. And then you just give us like a fourth rounder and the first overall pick.
Possibly. There's a lot of
I would
possibilities.
have a hard time saying no, because all of a sudden your defense, when healthy, just jumped into the top 5 just with those two players.
And I think
at the same time.
Yeah, and it'd be very similar. I think if the Vegas Raiders decide to do that, it's going to be similar to the Houston Texans, where you're just grinding it out with defense and not utilizing your offense too much. It's a possibility out there. If Vegas is in the win now mode, they could go for it. If I was Vegas, or if I was any team that had an opportunity to go get Mendoza, I just don't give that opportunity up, because once you find your quarterback, you are set for a while. Look at the Bills and the Josh Allen situation. Everyone wants that job. But we'll definitely talk about that on the podcast for sure.
Oh yeah. So, I'm hoping, and podcast preview and tease. We're gonna have a Cowboy segment on the podcast coming up this week, because we got to know what Nick thinks about the new defensive coordinator, and then we'll also touch on the other coaching openings and changes. And I want to talk to Daniel a little bit too, because he's been kind of crazy with what he's been doing. So besides the games and we probably won't preview the Super Bowl yet on Tuesday. But we'll recap, and then there's gonna be so much news to discuss. It's gonna be a great pod.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and it's gonna be great to go dive into all the news stories out there. So I think we should just end this by finalizing our picks for the conference titles. And so, Rob, who do you have for the picks?
Right. So, and at this point in time, especially because I know some of you need to be reminded of this, but it's the Nick and Rom Homer Hour. It's not the regular season. So in the regular season, sometimes I've picked against the Patriots. You don't do that in the playoffs, not for your team. So of course, I'm like, we could be running out like all of our fourth stringers, and I'd still be picking the Patriots to win, because it's the playoffs. So the Pats are going to win. I would not, if I was actually betting, I would bet on the money line, or I would bet Denver to cover, Pats to win. But the Pats are winning. We are in our 16th AFC Championship game, by the way. That's pretty good. Second all-time. I don't know who's got the most all-time championship game appearances. I'm kind of assuming it's the Steelers, but I haven't looked that up. we'll look that up and we'll talk about that on the pod next in a few days. But
Yeah.
I've got the Patriots winning, and then I've got the Rams winning to set up Patriots versus Rams round 3 in the Super Bowl.
Gotcha. Well, officially, according to the picks, I've got Denver and I've got Seattle because I just want to get. I'm just trying to gain points. But if you're actually asking for
Catch
my,
up on me,
yeah, I'm just trying to scheme. But really, when it comes to my whole heart, my brain, or whatever, it's not Homer hour for me. This is objective hour because I don't really care who wins the Super Bowl at this point. At least it's not the Eagles. That's all I could ask for. But I definitely have the New England Patriots should be able to confidently win this game. I'm buying into the struggles with Stidham. I'm just not a believer in getting a backup quarterback in the conference round. It's a good time to be playing around with this. I know they have no choice, but I'm gonna go with New England's going to take advantage of a young kid being in the quarterback position. And then I've got the LA Rams winning in a close one, but I'm just favoring their offense over everything else that the Seahawks provide. So give me the Rams and give me the New England Patriots give me the Rams and New England Patriots to go ahead and win this thing and get ready for a cozy game. Hey, you said Adam Vinatieri earlier, and I think tomorrow's going to be a great opportunity if he lives in the Austin area to be practicing those snow kicks that he made back in the old days, because there's a good chance that we're going to get some snow. So Adam Vinatieri, if you want to revitalize yourself and kind of get that old feeling back, pick a random field over in Austin, Texas, because there's going to be plenty of snow on the ground for you to kick from. So that's my suggestion for him.
For sure. So those are some solid picks there, and we'll be posting everyone else's picks at some point. If you're watching this, the picks are probably posted, unless you're currently watching us as we say this live on Saturday night. But it's a Sunday and you're watching us and you're curious who everyone else in our picks picked. You can check out our X, and it'll be posted on there for sure. And we'll definitely have where everyone's standing on next week's pod. Ultimately, hopefully, wherever you are warm, you have power. If you're in Florida, well, you're lucky because you are warm and you probably do have power. But if you're anywhere else in the country, hopefully you're bundled up. Hopefully you're able to watch the games live and you don't have to try to find some place that's got power to watch them, because winter is here. And hopefully here in Texas, winter will be gone by Monday afternoon.
Yeah. And of course, we had Tony jump in on our podcast saying he's giving you a bunch of New England hate, saying that even if New England wins, Seattle's going to defeat them. Something about the running back situation. All that to say is Rob, I'm sure, is going to stay. Tony, thank you for joining the show. And then, of course, Reed, thank you so much for joining the show as well. Rob, for the other ones, those guys know how to find us. How else can you find us?
So yeah, if you're watching us right now, you are watching us either on X or on YouTube. So if you found us on one of those spots, awesome. Make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe. If you're watching us on X, hit that retweet button so people see us. But we are the Nick and Rob Homer Hour. So you can find us on YouTube. We have the YouTube channel. That's where you can find almost all of our content all the time. We're on X again as the Nick and Rob Homer Hour. And then same with Instagram and TikTok. So we're in all those spots. If you just search Nick and Rob Homer Hour, we will pop up. We're a little over 3,000 subscribers. We'd love to see it hit 3,500 by the Super Bowl. We're marching towards that. So if you could like and subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've heard, and if you have enjoyed it, or you know someone that is a fan of the NFL, that is a fan of football in general, or the Patriots or the Cowboys, go ahead and just shoot our show over to them and say, hey, check this out. It sounds pretty cool. We'd certainly would appreciate that. And go Patriots, go whoever in the NFC, and let's hope we're talking a Patriots victory when you see us next on Tuesday night or Wednesday, whenever you watch our weekly pod.
Yeah, and until then, we'll see you next time. And guys, stay warm and enjoy the games.